Well, welcome everybody to episode 5 of Bobbing Along. It's lovely to see you all back. And today, my very special guest is Robert van Dusen, who is a writer on minds.com and has quite an eclectic collection of magnificent books and now has just started producing comics and also is an artist who publishes a lot of his work on DeviantArt. So, welcome today, Robert.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's awesome. How have you been?
Good, you?
Yeah, pretty good. We've had a cyclone hitting in the last week or so we've been without power for 2 days. So I'm
Oh,
pretty
that's no
glad.
good.
Yeah, I know. I was starting to think that all my interviews were going to be delayed, but luckily, yeah. All right. Well, Robert, let's get straight into it. Tell me about the books that you've had in the past. You have a couple of series, haven't you?
Yes, I did a couple of series of like zombie fiction novels, Outbreak and Get Out Alive. They're
Awesome.
set in different universe. They aren't connected in any way beyond they're zombies, but they're different zombies. So you know, I did a fantasy novel called An Uncommon Burglar. I keep meaning to start a follow up to that one too, and it just never seems to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I actually did um, a vampire story novella or novella thing based, with a character I created for my Choose Your Own Adventure stories, which are posted to my Minds blog, the section, the blog section in my Minds channel.
Mhm.
But it's all I've got for actual books right now. So
Well, that sounds wonderful. So 3 series, am I right? 3.
yeah. Well, two series and other stuff I keep meaning, other books that I keep meaning to kind of turn into a series, but I haven't been quite so good about getting down and actually doing it. So
So it's
yeah,
it's 2 series that are being developed
yes,
and certain
yeah,
other series that are still in their infancy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like I also keep, because my computer is full of stuff that I start and just never seem to finish. You know, I also have a third Get Out Alive book that I'm probably halfway through the first draft right now. I keep writing it and then, oh, hey, I'm going to go do this now. And then, oh, I'm going to go do this. And then I start it back up again. I work on it for a little bit and then I start running off to go do something else. So,
You know, that seems to be how creativity works. I've noticed it with
yeah.
me. I have over 3 months, I probably have 3 projects, but I only work on one for a few weeks. And then after a while, I'm back to the first one with all the enthusiasm. And I used to,
Yeah.
oh no, I never get on with anything until I saw that I get on with things in fits and starts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems,
Yeah.
yeah. When you
Yeah.
get the inspiration, you just dive back in.
Yeah. And well, it's kind of weird because it's like, yes, like my Outbreak series, I keep telling myself it's finished. I'm not going to do anything with that anymore. I'm doing, and I start working on the Get Out Alive series, and I'm like, I just kind of feel like I'm treading the same ground. So that's when I start getting frustrated, like, okay, well, I'll go work on something else. And then, because, there's only so much you can do with, it just feels like I'm trying to tell the same story again with different characters. And I'm like, this isn't, it's kind of weird because I don't, as far as like themes and all those big literary things, I don't really deal with it so much. I just like to, I really just try to tell an entertaining story, because that's kind of what you're trying, I'm just trying to entertain people. I don't want to, it just feels, like the two different series, they feel kind of like they're treading the same ground. And so I start getting bored with it, and I know if I'm getting bored writing it, you're going to be bored reading it. So
Yeah, I understand
yeah,
that. Yeah.
you
Mm.
know, it's like, it's kind of like you go to watch a movie and you can just tell when everybody, like everybody there is just kind of going through the motions.
Hmm.
Everybody's contractually obliged to be there, so they just kind of show up and do the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So you not only write, but you're an artist
Yeah.
too. I,
Okay.
I know that you've
Yeah.
got some work on DeviantArt,
Yeah.
haven't you?
Yes, I've got a couple of, I'm closing, very small, but it's getting there, I've got, I think I'm closing in on like 500 watchers over there.
Wow, that's
But
awesome. How long
yeah,
have you been there?
I only really started posting stuff a couple of years ago because, like, especially like, because like I mentioned, I do the choose your own adventure stories, and I would, pardon me, I would hire out because I actually can't draw worth a damn. Pardon my French, but but I can. I'd gotten fairly good at inking and coloring. Basically, like I would hire somebody to pencil a scene for me,
Right.
and then I would ink ink the outlines on the pencils and put in the shading and everything with the ink. And then I'd go back and color. And then once the ink dried, I'd color it.
Oh, wow, really good. So division of labor. Okay, so you want
Yeah,
the basic shapes, right? But the technical
yeah.
too.
Like I would hire, to draw the scene with pencil, and the penciler would tell, like, here's the scene, and I could read it, look at the picture and figure out, okay, like the light source is over here, so all the shit, they'd mark out where like the deep shadows were, and
Mm.
so I'd be like, okay, I gotta ink the outlines, and I'll get the bigger ink pen out, and I'll do the deeper shadows, and then
Mm.
that dries, and then I go back and with my markers and I'd color it.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Wow. So
Yeah.
were you doing the drawing while you were doing the writing, or were those?
Yeah, I would. Well, I would typically I'd write, I'd write, and then little scenes that I wanted drawn, I would put it. I would say to myself, because like I've only got X amount of money to spend on pencils,
Hmm.
so I would get like, okay, just like 3 or 4 scenes, maybe tops, and I'd spend time just like I don't wanna actually, uh, some of the guys I work with, I would love to plug their work. They don't really want me to.
Oh,
'Cause because, I mentioned that, like, because like, a while ago, I was mentioned in a hit piece, and,
oh.
um just some of the stuff I write, I'm like, it's not outside the realm of possibility that, the proverbial 12 weirdos on Twitter will come for me at some point.
Hmm.
And so I'd just be like, hey, here's the situation. I will gladly help you get more commissions if you want me to.
Hmm.
And they're just like, yeah, I don't want to get involved. So
I see. Yeah,
yeah, I'm like, hey, I understand completely. It's fine.
it's like you were saying earlier when we were just chatting before the show about the guys in Ottawa, is it? Where the truckers
Yeah.
are and people
There's a
very.
couple, 3 or 4 different,
All right.
from what I understand. There's
Gosh. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
hard. People need to do, you've got people with so many differing views these days, and it's really hard for people to know what's safe and what's.
Yeah.
I don't know, say
Well, I mean,
quite the word, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I just think it's mildly amusing that, you watch these people that, oh, they're completely on the right,
mm,
saying all the correct things and they're big and then, somebody finds a joke they made on Twitter 15 years ago and all of a sudden they're ruined. I'm like,
yeah.
just tell a joke. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Just-
Yeah. It's really hard these days. I don't know. It's a very
Yeah.
strange, strange world we live in. It's when
Yeah.
they say clown world, it's not a joke. It's real.
Yeah.
So do you write some conservative content? Is that what you're saying that you are like
I
about?
don't do politics, like
Yeah,
the banner on my Minds page says no
no
politics,
politics.
just
Yeah,
escapism.
yeah.
I don't generally talk too much about my politics. I don't put it in my,
Mm,
no overt messaging in my work because I want everyone to be able to pick up one of my books, read it, and enjoy themselves.
mm,
I'm
mm.
not trying, because it annoys me because a lot of modern stuff on, movies and TV and comic books, and I'm like, this, it's blatantly just propaganda for one side or the other. And I'm like, this is bad. This is just dumb. I'm not enjoying myself. I don't think I've seen a movie made in the last like 15 years. Well, I might have, I've seen a couple of movies, but I generally even stay away, I just like the older movies because I can sit down and enjoy them. There's nobody trying to push anything. It's just people trying to tell a good story and,
Yeah.
they're fun. I mean, like I'm all excited because I just got in the mail today. I got a couple of old zombie movies from
All right.
back in back in like the 70s. They're fun movies because
Yeah.
they're just ridiculous. They're fun because it's like first off, all of the audio is dubbed. All of the because they're
Yeah.
thing with the Italian when the Italian cinema, movie industry first got started, it was under um sorry, you can probably hear my cat in the cat
Oh,
box.
sweet. Is she coming in?
It was back under Benito Mussolini,
Right.
under the fascists and in Italy when the movie industry got started. And it was actually against the law in Italy to record audio and the bit and shoot the movie at the same time.
Wow.
So there had to be basically a government goon sitting next to the guy in the audio in the editing booth when they added the audio to the film
Gosh.
to make sure that they weren't trying to sneak anything anti-government into the movie.
Wow. Hey.
And everybody in Italy just kind of got used to that's how our movies are done.
Mhm.
So up until fairly recently, that's just how all of their language, all the audio is dubbed moderately okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the gore is over the top, but it's pretty. Lucio Fulci, that's the director I was thinking of, who did these movies. They don't call him the Wizard of Gore for nothing.
Mm. Oh, awesome. Yeah. I think it's interesting how movies have changed now from storytelling into special effects. Those movies, yes, there was a lot of visual effects in them, but the strength was in the actual storytelling. Whereas nowadays, it's you go from one action scene to another with very little story.
I primarily watch, like horror and sci-fi and action movies. I loves me a good action movie.
Mhm.
You know, I actually went out recently and bought a copy of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando
Ah.
because I love that movie. It is like probably it is definitely in my top 5 of action movies ever made. I also bought a physical copy of it because I'm reasonably convinced the 3rd act will probably be a hate crime in the next, couple of
Oh,
years, so
wow.
I better get one now while I can. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you avoid politics, you avoid putting your view into your work, and yet you had a hit piece written, or you were included
Yeah,
in a hit piece. How did that happen?
because I was using Parler back when Parler was a thing, and yeah, I must be, I the weird thing was it was written by, this woman who was, like, a New York Times best-selling young adult,
Mm.
young adult author, and I read the article, and it made I'm like, "This is unhinged. Who is this lady?" It's incoherent and just full of vitriol, and I don't know what's worse that, she she said it was a well-researched piece, and yet she spelled my name wrong.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know which makes me angrier, the fact that I got dragged into this or the fact that she didn't even have the decency to spell my name right.
Honestly, yeah. And it is incoherence, isn't it? It's beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like somehow I was, an evil right-wing
Mm.
person who hates minorities and Protestants, and I'm like, I went to a Protestant church when I was a kid. So, I I hon I don't know what she's
Oh, wow. Some
yeah,
people.
yeah, I stopped going when I was, like, 8, but, I didn't like it's a weird thing because like, my mom's side of the family's, Scots-Irish, and how I found out that my mom's side of the family was Protestant, and we'd gone to a Protestant church because I stopped going when I was a little kid. When I joined the army, my first set of dog tags, because I just put down, like, Christian as the thing on the because you have to have, like, a religious preference on your dog tags,
Yeah.
and somehow that turned into Roman Catholic, and one of my uncles, I am not joking, he gave me crap for, like, 6 months.
Because what? They said you were Catholic.
Because they said I was a Roman Catholic. He's like it wasn't serious, he was just cracking jokes, like, constantly, it wasn't mean, he was just cracking like, I'd call up and he'd be like, "Oh, how you doing, your holiness? Have they given you any room for your hats?
Oh, funny.
How's your boatmobile running?" Like, "Okay, uncle, jeez, calm down."
Oh, institutions. It's kind
Yeah.
of reminding me of that article that I saw on your page. Was it an article or was it you about the CSL plasma? What's another incoherence?
Yeah, the thing is, because like, that's how I go donate plasma every couple of times a week usually. It's just because I'm a disabled vet, and, so it's just an excuse to get out of the house, and I make a little bit of money, pretty good little bit of money, so, and I use that to buy 'cause, like, my comic book that I just put out is, 3D, I'm teaching myself how to do 3D rendering,
Wow, yeah.
and I use the money that I get giving plasma to buy props and stuff like that to do 3D rendering. And, yeah, it was weird because like, the one place I was giving, they like, all of a sudden, like, half their people quit. They had, like, 3 people working there, but I did some digging, and it looked like they were having vaccine mandates, and you know, I but I actually did some like digging, and I went to another because they have a couple of them in my area. I went to another one, and yeah, it looks like it was just there that they were having all the issues.
Uh, so one branch had fired a whole lot of staff, do you think?
Or I don't know. I can't prove anything because
Yeah.
it was just weird that all of a sudden all of these people quit,
Mm.
and then like, what's going on here? And yeah, they had vaccine mandates, and I can't prove anything. I don't know. I haven't been to the other site, the other center recently, because why would I waste my time going to the one where I may or may not get in when I can go to the one that is letting
Yeah, yeah.
is working normally? So,
So they're making it hard for you to do a good thing for society.
well, it's 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes further away from my house, so it's like 5 miles. It's not that much of an imposition. So, but I don't know. I can't prove anything. I don't know. I'm just saying it was a weird,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
it's very odd. My sister was telling me she lives in South Africa, and she was saying at the beginning of the COVID outbreak, when there was still all that real terror that all the health professionals were going to get sick and die. She was saying that none of the nurses in the ICU unit would work with her. And she was doing 3 shifts in a row because the other nurses were just not coming in. And it seems as if it's, I mean, like you said, incoherence earlier, and that word is just sticking in my head. Because when have you ever known a pandemic where the healthcare professionals just walk out of their jobs or get fired or,
Well, I mean, the whole thing is too, because again, like my Outbreak series of the zombie novels, you know, the zombies are caused by a virus. So I actually did a lot of research into how viruses spread and stuff.
yes?
You know, I always, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I always say I'm not really an expert in anything, but I know a little bit about a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but the whole thing, people get confused, I think, a little bit, because they say like pandemic. People say pandemic, and ooh, they get all freaked out, and it's like, no, no, pandemic. All that means is how the virus, how far the virus has spread. That
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean how lethal it is.
Yes. So what's the
That's
difference between a pandemic and an epidemic? Do you know?
a pandemic is spread. I'm trying to remember the exact criteria. Don't hold me to this, but like pandemic, it's on like 2 or 3 different continents,
Uh-huh.
and an endemic is it's just in one region, like
Right.
like Ebola
Okay.
is an endemic because it spreads, because it breaks out in Africa and tends to stay there,
Tends to stay there. Right.
because it's because of the vagaries of the virus and the terrain. And
Mm, mm,
you ain't going too far if you've got Ebola. you
mm.
know
Yeah.
you just ain't, because
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're
it will, it's just too brutal. People who get it don't travel very far.
not.
Yeah. But the flu goes pandemic every year, and nobody bats an eye. You know?
Yeah. 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 It is. It's crazy. Hey.
Yeah.
And this winter, people, I wonder if the flus will come back.
I don't know. We'll have to see, because that is kind of,
Mm. It's such a strange time we're living in.
yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
Anyway, so Robert, what is the plasma used for? I'm a bit ignorant about that whole side of medicine.
They, I'm just going by what they use it for, like, because like you have to sit there and excuse me, you have to sit there and watch videos before you can actually donate the first time. But
Oh, really?
yeah, because they don't want just people, they want apparently, because legal things,
Yeah.
legally they have to show you, stuff. But
Oh, right.
they make they make like something like 24 different medicines
Wow.
from each, they treat like autoimmune diseases, burns, and
Mm.
yeah, apparently a lot of stuff. I don't know all of it, so
Yeah.
I,
Wow.
I'm not an again, not an expert. Don't take,
Yeah, no, but
I just know a little bit. So
interesting that you donate
yeah,
plasma and interesting that you've noticed the impacts that.
yeah, yeah. I can't prove nothing. Or like, they got, like the one center I was at, I used to give at, they got kind of, the one, they got kind of snippy when I started asking questions, a couple, trying to figure out what was going on, but
Mm. But
yeah, that was,
you use it for buying your assets for your 3D
yeah,
fabric.
I buy like props or what, sets or,
Mm.
because I use, the program I use is free.
Okay.
Where they get you is you've got to buy
Other
stuff.
private stuff. Yeah, it is amazing. Like what was
Yeah.
somebody calling it? Micropayments or something.
Yeah, the microtransactions and the video games now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay. So why have you been doing 3D modeling? Was it for fun?
Well, because um, actually, because like I mentioned, I'm a disabled vet. I messed up my back pretty good in the army, so
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten to the point where I can't really sit at my art, my drawing table to do the inks and the colors any, very, so I stumbled across this Daz Studio program, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, this is cool." And oh, hey, now I can actually just do everything myself. I don't have to, farm stuff out to different artists and spend a couple of weeks going back and forth with them trying to fix stuff. I can just literally sit down on my couch, break out my laptop, and do everything myself, which is cool. Yeah.
Wow. That is cool. So you can do it all on a laptop.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what have you been doing? I mean, okay, obviously there was the time that you were learning, but now you've started
Yeah.
producing.
Yeah. I've been putting out stuff and, because, I'm still learning how to do stuff in this program, but like just like a couple of weeks ago, I finally figured out that, hey, I can go in and, open this tab and I can actually like customize all the like human figures that I have. I can customize them. So I didn't have to buy quite so many.
Okay. How cool.
So hooray for that. I can go in and I can change their facial features and their builds and their heights and their weights and I can mix and match them so that it comes out to something different. Like, oh, this is so cool. Okay. And I can like the one character I'm working with on for my compute for the superhero comics that I'm trying to put together. You
Yeah.
know, I figured out that, oh, this is so cool. I can, okay, I can customize the figure X, Y, and Z, height, weight, make them look all heroic,
Yeah.
like a superhero should with like big muscles and then I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Play with this, what's these shader things? Oh, cool. I could make them like kind of like translucent jelly.
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, cool. So I got a new guy I can play with. Awesome.
Oh, that's so
I can,
fun.
throw all kinds of, give this guy some really cool, like, he's like gel man. He can like slide under doors and,
Oh, great. So it's got all this space.
yeah, yeah, it's got all this cool stuff I can play with now. And it's great because, I'm trying to figure out all this stuff and it's, I always like trying to find new stuff, you know? New stuff is always fun for me because I don't know what, you know, and trying to figure everything out. That's great. I love, you know, I love stuff like that. So I'm having a lot of fun playing, you know.
Mm. Gosh, how wonderful. And it seems as if you're getting some really good results from what you've got.
Yeah, you know, I'm getting where I want to be. I don't want to, because you know, if I had like a $7,000 laptop, you know, a $7,000 computer workstation, I could turn out stuff that was like photorealistic. Like it looks exactly like almost exactly like a photo.
Gosh.
And like I don't want to spend $7,000 on a computer
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
because I don't, you know, because it's it'd have to be like a desktop, and I can't sit at a desk for very
Mhm.
long.
Mm.
So, you know,
Yeah,
I'd end up
not
spending money on it, and then it would end up like my drawing table sitting there getting dust on it because I can't freaking use it, you know?
yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah. What a pain. Oh well.
Yeah.
So what is the app called that you're using? Did you say?
Daz Studio?
Oh, Daz Studio, yes.
Yeah.
And the would you like say you did have $7,000 for your computer and everything? Do you think that your comic books that you'd make would be better or not better for having photorealistic stuff?
Well, because I like, you know, I've posted on mines there, you know, some of the stuff, and I like where it's at right now. I like that kind of vaguely cartoony style to it, you know? It doesn't have to be 100% photorealistic because that's, you know, yeah, that's interesting, that's cool that people can do that. It's it doesn't suit what I wanna do with what I'm, you know, like, if I was doing, you know, like, if because you can actually go in and buy they have a interactive license
Hmm.
so that you can use the props and stuff like that in, like, video games and movies and stuff. And, you know, yes, if I was doing, you know, CGI movies, you know, computer generated movies and video games, then yeah, I would want it to be more, you know, on a level of modern video games. But I'm not doing video games, so I'm content with what I've got right now, you know? I like I like how I'm getting it to look more like a cartoon almost, like a really good quality cartoon, you know?
Yes, that's what I thought when I was looking at your work. It's really high quality, but it's still got that comic-y feel. Really being able to use the new technology to, yeah, to your benefit, I think, because in a well, I'm not keen on the photo comic with little bubbles, with speech bubbles. I've always preferred the more sort of drawn ones. So I like the way you use the 3D models. Yeah, but you've also done some spaceships, I see.
Yeah, because Dance Studio, they, yeah, you can buy stuff, but they also give away um, free stuff once, like a couple of times a month. They'll give out some free older stuff, and I'm like, oh, hey, free spaceship, cool. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but now I've got it, and so I just did a couple took a couple of the spaceship props and set them up. I'm like, I'll just do this for practice. I just want to see if I can, what I can do with this. And that's where, the couple of spaceship pictures came from. I'm like, I'll just see what
Yeah, absolutely.
and hey, it came out fairly well.
Yes, yes. So was you getting into art, was that why you changed medium from writing to comic book?
Well, I'm still writing and I'm still, I'm trying to switch things up because, I'm trying, because it's like, oh, comic books are fun. At least they used to be. I want to do some, because like I grew up. Well, I wasn't a I was a comic book fan when I could get to the comic shop,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because I lived kind of in the middle of, I lived like, well, I still live about probably 45-minute drive from my nearest comic shop.
All right.
And so, especially when I was a little kid, you know, I wasn't getting out there, you know,
Mm. Mm.
but like, and I wasn't really into superhero comics and stuff like that, like Marvel and DC and stuff like,
Mm.
that much. I was more into like the Alien comics from Dark Horse and the Predator comics and the Aliens versus
Mm.
Predator and those comics. And I would buy like an issue of X-Men to, or to hide the other ones from my parents when I went to the register. But
Oh, funny.
because because like I've been a fan of the Aliens and the Predator franchises. Like I saw Predator when it first, like when it first showed up on cable here in the States. You know, I
Wow.
was like, I was like 9. You know,
Gosh, what a fun
and
memory.
yeah, and I mean, I just remember this cool freaking space alien thing. And the thing that freaked me out about it when I was a kid because, my parents were weird. I wasn't allowed to watch, like, monster movies,
Mhm.
but they were perfectly fine with me watching Arnold Schwarzenegger just, like, murder everyone, you know?
So funny.
Yeah, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger machine gunning, like, 80 people through a movie, that's fine, but I can't watch Christopher Lee as Dracula, you know?
Ah, I remember
And
when my son was about, I don't know, 9 or 10, was it Halo had first been
yeah,
released, and he was desperate to play it, and I was one of those mums that, shooting games are very bad, you shouldn't have blood, very, harmful for your, and he came to me and he said, "Mum, it's not real, the blood is purple. Please can I play?" Yes, us mothers, we have this thing.
yeah, but, and it was funny because I managed to trick my parents into letting me watch Predator because Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it. I told them it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh, that was a good move.
Yeah, and because it was, and but, I just remember being just awestruck by, the creature, the predator, because I mean, this thing was manhandling 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm like, oh, what am I seeing? This is in the active camouflage with the oh my I'm like, oh my god, this thing is so cool. Yeah,
So those feelings that you have, those memories that you have,
yeah.
are those things that inform your comic works now?
Yeah, I mean, like all of my stuff, it's because like I mean, I grew up, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I'm not gonna lie, I was a fat little kid. I was, you know,
Me too.
didn't have a lot of friends. I was terrible at sports. I
Mm.
had my books and I had my movies, and
Yeah.
and that's the kind of thing that I'm trying. I want somebody. I would love to give somebody those, that kind of thing. Yeah, like seeing the predator for the first time, or you know, Alien or something, or even like because I still love the old Hammer horror movies. I'm slowly building up my physical collections of those because those movies are old. They're going to go away at some point.
Yeah.
And you know, oh, or seeing Christopher Lee as Dracula and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, or Victor Frankenstein. I want people to have
Mm.
those moments that I had when I was a kid,
Yes.
and to get that excited about it, because you can hear it in my voice. I'm excited. I love those movies.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm still, no matter what anybody tells me, because Christopher Lee fought in World War II. He was attached to the Special Operations Executive, basically like British Special Forces.
Mm.
And no matter what anybody tells me, it's my own personal headcanon that Count Dracula got tired of some beady-eyed, stupid Austrian corporal with a stupid mustache horning in on his racket. So he arranged to have himself airdropped into Germany. I would love to do like a comic or a story like that, but I would get so sued, so I can't. Never mind Christopher Lee's estate. Hammer would be, because Hammer Horror is still around. They're still a company. I think they'd get rather upset with me. So unless they wanted me to, unless they need a guy to do it.
Sure, yeah.
I will clear my calendar.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, what an opportunity that would be.
Yeah.
Tell me about your characters. I saw Samantha the other day with power fists.
Oh no, that was
No?
a different character that I'm working on coming up with for my superhero comics. That one I'm gonna probably have to I'm gonna have to go back and revamp a little bit, because as somebody pointed out in the comments on my post, when I posted it on mine, so they're like, "Hey, this looks suspiciously close to this other comic book character, this other mainstream comic. This looks suspiciously close to their IP."
Oh, wow.
Their intellectual property, and I'm like,
yeah.
Damn it! I can see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
because like they were pointed out that this is suspiciously close to a character in The Boys, the comic book series, and it got turned into an Amazon Prime show, and I'm like, damn it, because I'm aware of the comic. I've never read an issue.
Right.
And I'm aware of the television, I'm aware of the show, but I've never seen an episode. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, damn it, I can see where people would think that I was ripping something off. So I should go and change, yeah. I should go change some stuff, and I should revamp that character.
So how do you do that? How, using the Daz Studio, what is the process that you would do for just using that as a specific example? How would you go about changing somebody that you needed to change?
Like, what I was thinking of doing is going in, changing the hair color, because I can change, different colors, change characters' hair colors and skin tones and eye color, and it's ridiculously customizable. Go in. I'm probably going to end up changing her hair color. I'm creative wise. I'm going to probably, I don't get in that much trouble, I don't think, as far as like the character's power set, because it's fairly common as far as like comic books. She can fly and throw energy and stuff like that. It's fairly, if anything, I'm kind of ripping off Dragon Ball Z, but show me somebody, again, and I'd have to change the character's name, because it's the same name as one of the characters in The Boys.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I'm like, damn it, I didn't even think about it. I didn't, because I've never seen I'm aware that the property exists, but I've never had anything to do with it. I didn't particularly want to because I didn't like, like the entire premise of The Boys is they're superheroes, they're real, and they put on these big public faces of being nice, being, Superman and Captain America and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, they're all jerks, money, and negotiate, more worried about their contracts than actually saving people and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's not, deconstructing stuff isn't, I'm like, we've had enough of that. We don't need that. We don't need more.
Mm.
I don't need to contribute to that. You know,
Yeah.
can we just have a hero now? Can we just have like a genuinely good person,
Yeah, just for
please?
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. In your first comic ever, can you give
Yeah.
a little bit of history about that? Like what would, if somebody was to buy that, what would they expect to get?
The close, well, because one thing that you can, um, before you spend your money, I based the character. I created it for some of my choose your own adventure stories. One of them is the modern Rasputin, uh, the Paper Street story, and the Meyer Estate story. Those are the ones with that character that are in my blog section.
Okay.
Um, Basically, it's not a superhero comic. It's not an action comic. It's really more of because the main character is an investigative reporter. I'm just kind of weird. Like I love trying. I love trying to do like what Stan Lee did with Tony Stark, Iron Man, because the story behind Tony Stark and Iron Man is because Stan Lee created the character back in the '60s at the height of the Vietnam War. And so Stan Lee came up with the character basically as a bet. He's like, I'm gonna make a character that is everything that the youth of America hates today. He's a billionaire he's a billionaire businessman, war profiteer, and I'm gonna make them like him. Yeah, and look at how it turned
Gosh,
out.
that's a
You
project.
know, maybe it's a little hubris, kind of hubris, but I'm, just like, oh, everybody hates the media these days. And I'm like, but like I came up with the character of
Yes.
Samantha McKnight. She's an investigative reporter who, you know, actually believes the stuff, who actually believes in actually doing her job. She's not out to smear anybody. She's not out to peddle an agenda. She's just out there to find some, if something's wrong, something looks fishy, she's going to go look into it and she's going to find out what's going on. Doesn't matter what, doesn't matter where it goes, where the story leads. That's where she's going.
That's fantastic. And what a good idea. Because that's what kids want. They want to see heroes in places where they can't see heroes.
Yeah. Or like I came up with the main character who ended up being in my vampire novella, The Night Shift, in a couple of my other choose your own adventure stories. And that was the height, I came up with that at the height of
Mhm.
like Black Lives Matter thing and everybody's dumping on the cops. And I'm like, you know what? Like they were going after freaking Paw Patrol because they had because a children's show had had a
Hmm.
character in a
Wow.
who, a little dog in a police uniform. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it again. Because everybody's like, "Oh, the police are bad. Oh, the police are bad." And I'm like, "Oh, well, okay. I'm gonna create a character. She's a policewoman." who genuinely cares about her community and helping people and is genuinely a good person, you know?
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot of your characters are female. Do you
Yeah.
find it easier to tell a story with women?
I've never really thought about it, it just, happens that way. But, it just yeah, it just kinda happens, so, yeah, yeah, like, why screw with something if it works, right?
Well, if it's working, let it work. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's my first one actual one that I did that was, like, good. Yeah. That where I at least kind of knew what I was doing when it came to doing the arts. So,
Yeah, yeah. How
yeah.
fun. So that must have been really satisfying for you to get a finished
Yeah,
work.
I've because yeah, I'm actually amazed how, because I did the entire thing in, like, 2.5 weeks.
Gosh.
Yeah, of course, being that my usual work d because my usual work day is 16 hours long, so
Wow. Is that on your writing? Is that your really? That's
yeah, I get up at, my typical day, I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I feed my cat, I put the coffee on, I conduct personal hygiene, I eat my breakfast, and I'm working by 9 o'clock. And I typically do not stop working until midnight.
wow. That's you must love what you're doing, is all I can say.
Yeah, yeah, because I'll be doing like 2 or 3 different things and, like, I will take a break now and again. Like, I go to because 'cause I've started working out again. I go to the gym for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I come back and get right back to work.
Fantastic. Wow, that sounds like a real commitment. But so this, am I right? I think I went and looked at it. It's $4 for 25 pages.
Yes, and that's a pretty good deal as far as comics go, so, considering that Marvel last time, if I remember correctly, the last time, like, a mainstream comic, they're charging, like, $8, $9 for 18 story pages? So, yeah, that's the last time I saw, I think it was about $8 for and I'm like, "I might as well not" I'm like, "I'm giving you half again as many pages and, you know, half the price. Why not?" You know, there's a link, I've posted a couple of links, like, it's on Gumroads, and so you can look me up on there. I've put links. I should go ahead and pin a link on my Minds page so people can find it.
Yeah, good idea. Yes, yes, absolutely. And comics typically put out sort of one a week or one a month. Are you thinking of for your future in comics? How do you envisage this going on after initial?
I don't know because I'm trying to, because yes, I can keep going with, market troubles. I can keep going with that storyline if I want. It's I'm really trying to figure out, you know, like,
Mhm.
okay, people like if people like market troubles and they want to see more, I will do it. You know, if they want something else, tell me you want something else. I'll see what I can do. You know,
Yes.
because
Oh, super. So you're interacting with your audience all the time.
I always say, I always say that, I work for you. It's not the other way around. To my audience, I work for you. Tell me what you want, and I'll see what I can do to meet that need. It's not like, It's not like the thing you see a lot in like modern Hollywood. Well, we're going to make this movie that nobody asked for, and then we're going to call you all kinds of nasty names because you don't want to go see it. It's like, no, that's not how it works, dude. It's not how it works. You can't, you can't insult your audience and expect them to give you
So
money. Yeah.
that is so strange these days, yeah. Where is your audience? Is your main audience on Minds, or do you have audience spread across several platforms?
I have them on, it's mainly on Minds because, well, that's mainly where I post most of, that's where I do most of my social media stuff right now. Because, like, yeah, I'm fairly certain I was shadow banned on Facebook. So, yeah, um, I have a Getter account. I don't really post there nearly as much as I probably should because I try to avoid social media while I'm working on stuff because then I just end up scrolling through my feed and not working. So,
Yeah, that can really be
yeah,
distracting. Absolutely.
I end up going, oh, hey, and looking at stuff and no, 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 turn this off. We're doing other stuff now. Put this away. Yeah. Next thing
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
an hour's gone by. I'm like, what was I,
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? I don't know how
you know,
time does that.
and like it's social media, like Minds and stuff. I'm scrolling through stuff and I'm like, start to cut and thinking, oh, I should go. No, 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 you're not doing that. We're not getting it. We're not getting involved. This doesn't have anything to do with us. Keep moving. Yeah. Turn up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
limit
Try that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it like, I've said before a couple of other times that like a couple of my big influences are like Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, because I love like the the pulpy 20s and 30s style of action and adventure and creepy horror, creepiness and I grew up reading Stephen King and unfortunately Stephen King also turned into a big influence how big thing for me how not to behave on social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, because just like being obnoxious to people for saying obnoxious things about your audience, and I like don't you're a writer, dude. You're here to entertain. Entertain. You're not here to you're not lecturing people about telling people how to vote and calling them bad names and being obnoxious. I try to keep that to an appropriate minimum. Sometimes you can't help yourself, and sometimes things happen. But you know, it's like I'm just like we're not getting involved. We're not antagonizing anyone. We're just posting stuff. We're only going to post. I'm only going to post stuff about what I'm working on, and occasionally some pictures of my cat.
Who is very
Yeah,
sweet.
she's been driving me up
How
the
old is
wall
he?
recently, but
Oh, right.
because well, I only because I've mentioned my usual work day, and so I usually only get like 7 hours of sleep a night. I need those 7 hours, and she keeps
Hours.
waking she keeps waking me up. Like stop.
She wants to play.
No, she just like well, because like at first she was scratching at my bedroom door constantly for out of the blue. She just decided to start scratching at my bedroom door. And I would get up and chase her away because I don't want her scratching up my door. And then finally,
Mhm.
after like a week of just not being able to sleep, I relented and left the bedroom door open. Well, now she comes in and she scratches on my bed. Yeah, like,
Oh
no,
no!
that's just as bad. No, stop that. She wakes me up 3 or 4 times a night doing that. I'm like, stop.
Oh
I don't know
no!
what your
Crazy
problem
girl.
is. You have a scratch thing. Go scratch on that. I don't want.
Oh, she wants her
Yeah.
dad.
Well, I mean, she like already. Well, like she already like climbed under, the fabric under the box spring. She wasn't allowed in the bed, in the bedroom because she got under there and tore a piece of fabric right out, just destroyed that. And now she's going to work on the rest of the bed, and I'm like, no.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, Robert, I see you've been doing movies.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. I've on Minds. I've started a chat group called Friday Night at the Movies, and
Cool.
basically you're trying, because you know, like I mentioned before, when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't get out, didn't get out much, but I had my movies, and there was one horror, guy on. He used to host Monster Vision on TNT here in the States back in the '90s when I was, young, as a kid. Joe Bob Briggs, and he's
Okay.
actually started up. They gave him a show on Shutter, horror streaming network, streaming service, and I'm like, you know what? I'll bet you I could do something like that. Just something, because
Ah,
it was, it's a weird, it's a weird thing because it's like, it just formed, he just formed like this close knit, he calls them the mute, we call ourselves the mutant family.
right.
These people,
Or
because we don't really have anywhere else, we never had any, anywhere else to go. We all had, but every
yes.
Saturday night we could, on a late night, we could all turn on TNT and, watch some monster movies with Joe Bob. And it was always, it was, yeah. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I actually started Friday Night at the Movies because I was going to try to, have a bunch of people get together to watch Joe Bob on Shutter doing one of his specials.
Right.
And
Yes.
it just kind of evolved into like, well, we can do this every Friday. Why can't I do this every Friday night?
How cool. Yeah, that's
And like I'm proud of myself because I finally last Friday I finally figured out how to put movies through the chat on Minds.
oh,
The frame rate is
oh,
terrible, but it works.
oh,
Yeah,
okay. Gosh. You do streaming in
yeah,
you you're doing streaming in the Minds
yes. I
chat.
finally figured out how to do it. It doesn't work frightfully well, but it will do the job until I figure out something else.
Gosh, that's
Because like before it
fabulous.
was like, you know, like yeah, let me plug, every Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We
Mm,
we'd all start the movie at the same time. And then like
right.
and then because like I'd be watching through my Xbox and people are watching through their computers and stuff. And I use a free streaming service called Tubi. Well, they're free, but they're ad supported, and it was getting really annoying
Okay.
because I would have to stop. There would be ads when I was watching it, and so everybody else would have to stop watching the movie and pause it until the ad was done. And
Oh,
sometimes, but now we've kind of got it. I've kind of got it working. Um, we're planning on this Friday night, if it's still going to be on the streaming thing. It probably should be. We're going to be watching the Jeffrey Combs movie Reanimator and its sequel,
oh,
Bride of Reanimator.
oh,
And
nice.
Reanimator is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm actually really looking forward to sitting down and watching it with people because if you haven't seen it before, it's an experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay. How?
it's based on the H.P. Lovecraft story Herbert West Reanimator, about
Oh,
this mad scientist trying to do exactly what it says on the tin, reanimate stuff.
mm-hmm. Gosh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's
Wow.
kind of
Yeah,
like
that.
Frankenstein if you know
Yeah.
Frankenstein wasn't. it's a nastier, gorier version of kind of like the Frankenstein story. It, it's it, and I wish I could remember who did the effects, but they they did a job. Let me tell you. I think it was a guy named Screaming Mad George, but I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting. That's a good
Yeah,
name.
yeah, he did.
Good name for
Yeah, he did a lot of movies that were. You gotta see him because he did another movie called Society. He did the creature effects for, and it's that movie. It's it, it's the kind of movie that I think Alex Jones would watch and think is a documentary. But yeah, yeah, it's one of those movies that I don't, because it's Society is a really good movie too, and I don't want to give away too much because it's one of those movies I actually want people to see. But
Hmm.
it's like this kid he'd been adopted by this rich family in Beverly Hills, and all I'll say is he starts to suspect that there's something odd with his family, and yeah, he's right. Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah, he's right.
Okay, so that sounds awesome. So how many people do you have joining you for your movie night?
I'm trying to build that up because I want because you know
Hmm.
it's something people can do. If you've got nowhere else to
Yes, yes.
go, if you've got nobody
Hmm.
else, you can come by, hang out with us, watch a movie, have a good time.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. That's a real part of community building, which is so important online these
Yeah,
days.
especially because like for the past couple of years, they kind of wouldn't let us leave the house. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and haven't they sort of stabbed themselves in the eye with
yeah,
that? I mean, they forced everybody online, so now everybody's more informed, and now they understand how they've been manipulated,
yeah,
and they don't want to anymore. It's been a very, very, I mean, the internet won this round,
yeah.
I think.
We'll see how long that
Mm.
lasts, but the internet's a great thing, and it's from my way of looking at it, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because it's great because you've got all this information out there. The thing is, you've got to filter stuff. You've got to know how to look at information and look at it critically and know when somebody's full of it. And a lot of people don't seem to be able to do that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't matter if it's like an official source or some other guy. You've got to look at it and figure out what's going on here. Like I have a very low bar. When it comes to like comes to like some information because
mm,
I've been a straight D student in every chemistry class I've ever taken. So
consistent.
if I can look at if I can look at your article and go, you're wrong here, you're wrong here, and you're wrong here, you've got a problem. I know I know where I'm dumb as hell when it comes to chemistry, and I can see where I can catch you at a mistake.
Yes, yes,
Somebody who
yes.
actually knows what they're knows what they're talking about will be laughing at you.
Yeah. That's the thing about but the science and
Yeah.
trust the science, isn't
Yeah,
it?
well,
Is that
don't
you have
trust
to
the
know
science. It's
how
science is
yeah,
there to be it's there to be disproven.
to prove it.
Yeah. The
Absolutely.
science is
Yeah.
settled. No, it isn't. It never is.
No, it never has been. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Oh well. I mean, and the Spanish Inquisition were real.
but nobody expected them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, if the science was settled, we'd still be believing in the four humors,
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. And that is progress, and to criticize people,
and that's great too, because like just a little while ago when I was posting, like posting art for the comic I was working on, like
Mm.
I had a couple people point out that, hey, this looks hinky, and I'm like, I looked at it, took a second look at it, I'm like, you know what, you're right. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
went back
Well, it's
and I
important.
fixed it, and I'm like, I even wired went into the comments on the piece, and I'm like, hey, thanks for pointing that out. I fixed it. Good.
Mm.
I even wired them each a token. I'm like, hey, if if I do
Nice.
something, if something's weird, and I will look at it and go, hey, yeah, you know what? You're right. Thanks for pointing that out. If you're,
I've had that with.
if somebody points something out and I look at it and I go, well, you're kind of not right here. I will just keep doing what I'm doing. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
um, and one of the critical, people who like reviewed one of my Outbreak, my book Outbreak Boston, the first book in my Outbreak series. One
Mm.
of the criticisms I got was I was fat shaming one of my characters because I was pointing out that he was overweight. And I'm like,
Oh,
that that oh, okay. I fail to see the issue here. you know?
no,
Because
absolutely. Where it's a relevant part of the story,
yeah,
isn't it?
and I mean, because I didn't go out of hand with it, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? You would really freaking hate Homer. The classical the classic Greek poet
Yeah.
Homer, because you know,
Mm.
do you have any idea how often he goes on and on about the freaking shag carpet Achilles apparently had growing out of his chest? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's like, yeah, it's a physical characteristic. I'm going to mention it because the dude's running from zombies. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the
but
thing, is that these are relevant details.
and then like one of the other criticisms I got from more than one person was because you know, again, I'm an army guy. I know how army people talk to each other, how military people talk to each other, and one of the people were getting really confused because some of the characters, because like all the military people in the books will talk, will call each other by their last names because
Yeah,
that's just how you
yeah.
talk to, that's how army people talk to each other. We don't like I had friends for years. I never knew their first name until I met their wife. Yeah, until I met their family.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly didn't know his first name because we never talked to him. Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
but like the civilian people all call these other characters by their first name.
Mm,
And
mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
you know
find
what?
that very
Hey,
strange.
I can,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, a thing that, I didn't catch because it, that's just how military people talk to each other. And
Mm,
none of
mm.
the people that I let read read the book before I published it and stuff. None of them caught it because they're all in the military too. So it never,
Yeah,
I'm like, you know what? Thanks for pointing that out. I honestly never thought of it
yeah,
that way. Cool. Okay. I will
yeah.
go, and I went back and I fixed it because I'm
Mm,
like, yeah, you know
mm,
what? You actually, you have a point. I can, valid criticism is good. I like, I like when somebody points,
mm.
if I can, if I can see your point, I'll change my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. That's part of the creative
yeah,
process, isn't it? The creativity isn't like the solitary
Yeah,
genius shut away in the study.
yeah,
You know, there's a part of that. There's a part of that time where you're doing output, but there's a part of the time where you're getting feedback, and
yeah.
that's just as
You've
valuable.
got to listen to it.
Mm, mm.
Or like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that came out a few years ago.
Yeah,
When the first trailer dropped, everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is terrible! Why is this?" That's a they gave Sonic the Hedgehog like this nightmare, uncanny valley face that looked nothing like the character from the video games, and the fans were like, "What's wrong with no, no, this is bad, no." And the studio actually said, "Hey, you know what? We hear you." They went and they actually pushed the release date back on the movie so they could go back and fix the character's face. And that movie
yeah,
made a ton of money because, hey, this is a Hollywood, these guys actually listen to us for a change instead of just screaming bad, screaming at us and calling us bad names like like they usually do when we don't, when we have an issue with what they're doing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It is so
yeah,
good. It is so good to be able to, yeah, even with those big, and it's kind of unusual because those very big companies don't usually care about what people
yeah.
say.
Well, I mean, yeah, they should because where are they going to get their money from?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
keep screaming insults
Mhm.
at your audience and see how long they keep showing up.
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy. Yeah. Really crazy.
like Star Wars. The last,
Hmm.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw the Force Awakens in theaters, and I was kind of underwhelmed. Yeah, but
Yeah, I've stopped seeing them, I'm afraid to say. I don't know. They've kind of, I don't know if I've got old or if they've got, but the attraction for me has worn off,
yeah.
I think.
Well, I mean, the attraction for me wore off after the Force Awakens, and then I saw like and then it just like it's gotten to the point where because I was like a casual fan of Star Wars, like I'll watch it if
Mm.
it's on, but I'm not really going out of my way to I don't know like
Yes.
all the lore and the characters and but
Yeah.
I know enough about the franchise and stuff. And it's like, congratulations, Disney, you just made me not care. Yeah,
Yeah. That's how I
I'm
feel.
not.
Yeah.
I didn't go see any of the movies after The Force Awakens. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any of the TV shows. I don't care. I'm not giving you my money because I saw how you treated the fans who actually did know what they were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
saw how you treated the fans. I don't want to give you my money. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Well, Robert, we have had a really wonderful conversation,
Yes.
and I have really so enjoyed hearing about your work. It's been so interesting to see what angle you're coming from. I mean, it's like to see that you are trying to entertain in a specific way, a specific
Yeah.
audience is really, really fascinating. It gives me some sort of insight into the behind the scenes of the book, the books that really seem to flesh out your message.
It, I kind of like what Ethan Van Sciver, he's a comic book artist, who said. He's like, my audience is literally everyone who can read English and has money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's how
If
it
you can afford,
goes.
if you can afford to buy my comic book and you can read English, you're my audience. I'm not.
Mm. Yes, yes. I think who was it? Was it Donald Trump's son, Don Jr.? I think when Trump got into power, first of all, and somebody was accusing him of being a racist. And Don Jr. said, my dad doesn't care about the color of skin. He's after the color of money. And I thought that's so sane. So
just made me think because I'm a big giant history nerd too.
yes.
Roman Emperor Vespasian, he was trying to raise, he was, the empire was in financial ruin because they'd just gone through, a year. Nero had run everything into the ground before the year-long civil war, and so he's trying to raise money any which way he can. Just he ended up taxing like because you would collect pots of urine in
Right.
for use in the textile industry, and Vespasian actually taxed that, taxed collecting
Wow.
the urine, and his son is like, "Don't you think that this is kind of unseemly because you're literally taxing giant pots of piss?" And Vespasian picked up a gold coin off the table, held it under his nose, sniffed it, and goes, "I can't smell anything."
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Coins don't smell. Oh, it's
yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I will,
Yeah,
everyone and everyone can, as far as I'm concerned, can buy my work. I hope you enjoy it, even if you don't think you're going
yeah,
to enjoy it, just check it out anyways. Yeah,
maybe.
maybe you'll be
Yeah, exactly.
surprised.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it. I haven't bought it
Yeah,
yet, but I'm going to
yeah.
be.
Actually, as far as like the comic, I because I've uploaded it as straight as like an EPUB file for like book, e-readers and stuff. I'm honestly not entirely certain how that will work. If people buy it and they have an issue getting the file open or whatever, I will take it down and I will try to figure out something else and we'll try to figure out getting like refund. I'm not entirely certain how it'll work because it's my very first time trying to sell a comic. So I just ask everybody to be
Yes.
kind of patient because I don't know how it works. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like that with doing videos. I've never done videos or video editing or anything until I started this. And so I'm sort of like, I know that the quality isn't right up there,
Yeah.
but
It
I've got
improves.
there badly before I
Yeah. Once
well.
you figure out what you're doing, you get
Mhm.
better all the time.
Yeah,
So yeah.
right. Yeah. One step at a
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much indeed for coming in today and for chatting. That was just so wonderful. And
Yeah.
yeah, good luck with your ventures. I hope to have you on
Yeah.
again really soon
Anytime.
when you
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, see you
See
next
you.
time then.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. To support me in my ventures, please subscribe, tip, and remind my content here on minds.com. If you're not yet a member of Minds, hop on over and set up your own free and uncensored channel. Remember to come back next week to catch the next in the series Bobbing Along from @BobDub on minds.com. This has been a Bobcat production. And until next time, so long. Bob, bob, bobbing, bob, bob, bobbing, bobbing along, bobbing along. Bob, bob, bobbing, bob, bob, bobbing, bobbing along, bobbing along.